there's a lot, like I said, a lot of stuff came through in the Big 12 Media Days. First and foremost, Coach Prime was out there walking around, moving, and he looks healthy. He said he wasn't going to talk about his health, but there's been so many speculations over the last couple of weeks because he been absent. So the question is, how you feeling about Prime being back? Because me personally, got me excited that, okay, everything's good. I don't have to be concerned as a person about him. I'm actually pretty excited. How did you feel seeing him walk out there with all of that energy? Because he had a lot of it.
Yeah, I think the thing for me was I may have had a little bit of a different perspective. So I actually texted with him a little bit, maybe about a week ago, and so from that interaction, I knew what was going on. I said, okay, he on the way back, and I talked to some people that are kind of in his closer circle, and everybody pretty much knows like Coach Prime. It ain't that he's a guy that you got to make stay home, that you got to make take the time out for himself. And I think that even though he had the time allotted, he actually said, you know what? This may be the time for me to take a little bit of time. There's a lot going on in his life, a lot going on with his kids, even from having being a new grandfather all the way up to having two sons make it to the NFL. So with that being said, I just think I'm like, you know what? Coach Prime just needed to decompress. And I think that the health has something to do with it. And sometimes, God can tell you, say, all right, now sit down for a second.
Yeah.
And, you could be the type of guy that don't and not listen when you get those when you get that premonition or you get that omen or you get that word. And he's not that type of guy. So I think that seeing him come back the way he did today, it was for me, it felt like the very example of back like I never left.
Yeah.
Because if you follow Coach Prime, you still got the inspiration in the morning time. You still were able to go see him walking. You saw him. You saw the people coming to visit him. You saw people having positive things to say after they visited him. So I think now it's just like we all got a chance to visit with him today. So I just think it's a positive day for Bucs fans and even those fans who aren't, make necessarily Colorado fans, people who are fans of the culture and Deion Sanders.
Yeah, exactly. And spot on with that you get that word from God or just the human body in general, right? It's going to tell you need to rest. And one of our biggest flaws as humans is we don't listen to ourselves. When our body tells us to take some time and relax, we're like, nah, we're going to push through. You got to grind. You got to do this and another. And then the next thing you know, you laid up in a hospital bed. Sometimes you got to just hear the word. Usually that intuition is God whispering you saying, hey, calm down, slow down, take a break. It's okay. It's okay to get some sleep. It's okay to sit down for a minute. Just don't do it too much, especially when you're on the grind and stuff. So, yeah, that's what I felt with Prime, seeing him fishing, seeing him move around, people that came to visit him. They gave you some good reviews on how Prime is. And speaking of his kids, Dukes, Prime said something real interesting, kind of shocked some of the national media, and it shocked myself when I heard him say it. And I think I want to lead off with that. After he did his full, statement, answered some questions at the beginning, he sat down on the side and was talking to some of the guys with ESPN. Not got all the names of everybody was there, but he was sitting down with them on the side note, chopping it up, having a conversation. He talked about his love for Colorado. They talked about how beautiful it is there, how beautiful it is in Boulder. And so, Bucs fans, y'all should be excited about that because, again, Prime keeps reminding y'all he loves it there. But this is the thing that jumped out to me the most, Dukes. They asked him about what the team going to look like this season. And in a lighthearted way, he basically said they're going to be better. And the reason why he said they're going to be better was twofold. One, he ain't worried about his kids anymore, right? Like he was saying, as a dad and a coach, you're watching your players as a coach, but you're also watching your kids as a dad. Now, granted, he always talks about how all his players are his kids, but it's different when it's Shiloh. It's different when it's Shedeur. It's different when it's Travis, when they're basically the kids that his babies, right? He said he can now focus on coaching. That was profound to me because the second thing he said about that is now the team can't rely on Shedeur to bail them out. They need to, or Travis to bail them out. They now need to come together as a team. He thinks they're going to be better. What you think about that? Because that, to me, that shocked me. And some of the national guys was like, whoa, I didn't think about it that way as a coach and a parent.
Yeah, for sure. I think something that I kind of been harping on all season, like this team, you may lose two great players, and not two great players. You lost 4 good receivers. You lost secondary, like you lost a whole secondary just about, including Colton Hood. DJ McKinney's probably, and you lost a lot. And I think with the reinforcements that have been brought to Colorado and the players who have had another year to mature, I think top to bottom, this team is probably more talented. And I've said that ad nauseum. And for Coach Prime to come out and kind of say, yeah, without saying it, he basically was like, yeah, you're right. And so I think for the people who really go back and you look at their roster top to bottom, some people hear me talk about the offensive line, and I say, well, when it comes to offensive line, they may not be the best right now, but they're the most talented. And I think from 1 to 10, 1 to 12, I don't think you have more talent, overall talent. We're talking about potential. We're talking about size, speed, agility. I don't think from a physical standpoint, there's a more physically imposing offensive line based straight off of physicality in the Big 12. But they got to figure it out. And so I think that's the caveat to what Coach Prime is saying is, we're a better team. We just got to prove it. We got to start playing together. He knew what Shedeur was going to do in the fourth quarter with the ball in his hands. He has 9 plays to get 60 yards. He already had a feeling for that. He doesn't know what it's like with Case Salt in that role. He doesn't know what it's like with Juju in that role. But I think that's the exciting part that you get to find out. So I feel like and then for somebody who coaches his son, I can honestly say, man, and you've probably done the same. Like like when you don't, let's say he's out and you get to go watch the team and he's not playing, how much of a relief it could be because you're not having to coach every little thing. Like you're doing double, triple coaching. Because like if my son's in the game and I'm helping out with the defense and I'm saying, hey, you need to get here. But every play I'm looking at what he needs to be doing to not mess up. Cam, they coming your way. Like if literally, true story. Last year, Aaron Nolan, quarterback at South Carolina, former 4-star / 5-star, who's at Ohio State. His dad also is a referee. His dad pulled me to the side once. When his dad, he referees one of Cam's games last year, and he says, Dukes, if I hear you call that boy name one more time, I'm going to throw you out the game.
Because you a parent, you out there coaching him at the same time, right?
He said, don't call his name no more. And if anybody knows Coach P, that's a big dude. So I ain't say Cam name no more. But at the same time, it's like my big brother family. But at the same time, that's the dynamic for an involved father in the sports game. So even though you may not have seen Coach Prime calling Shedeur every play by name or telling Shiloh every time by name and trying to coach him at the same pace that he's coaching everybody else, in his mind and even more importantly in his heart, he's coaching his boys every play. So that has to be a relief.
Exactly. And that was the thing that he was harping on the most in that conversation was, just as you said, I don't have to focus on everything and them individually because, like you said, as a parent, no matter what, you're going to be watching your kid and you're going to critique his footwork. You're going to critique son or daughter. You're going to critique their footwork. You're going to critique their attitude. You're going to critique the way they move and you're going to critique the way they're talking. You're going to critique the way they respond. All of that. And so now he said that weight is off his shoulders and he can focus and see what these boys are going to be. And we'll talk about Salters as well as Juju in just a minute, but back to Prime himself, I thought that was probably the most shocking thing he said because a lot of folks was asking the question, man, he ain't gonna like not coaching his kids. And honestly, it kind of sound like he's like, whew, it's a relief. Now let's focus on everybody else. He talked about, of course, his health. He talked about moving around and everything and how he's doing. Of course, he always talks about his faith and everything, but he talked about the coaching staff. One thing, season tickets are sold for the 3rd straight season. Shout out to you, Buffs fans. Y'all showing up and showing out. I can't even be mad at I know we can give some props to Prime, but it still takes y'all to actually go out there and back the man like you have.